and this is America's Mayor live from New York. And it's not Saturday night. It's Thursday. No, Wednesday. No, Tuesday. It's not yet Epic Times Day. That's why I wanted to do that. Or how about we do it this way? How about we do the line from The Godfather? It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Boom! There she goes. Oh, poor Apollonia. Did she get it? I had a crush on her. Did you have a crush on her? I definitely had a crush on her. Oh my goodness, man. That Apollonia. You can you know, then you like when he comes back and he has to be with Kate. Yeah. You say to himself, well, poor guy. There he had they called it the Thunderbolt. Yeah. He got hit in Sicily with a thunderbolt when he saw Apollonia. Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday. That's when she gets blown up in the car. Boom, there she goes. Well, okay, all right. Well, very sorry. We have very serious news tonight. And we begin, of course, with the controversy, which I don't think is much of a controversy. A tragedy, of course, and also a real sign of the depravity of the enemy. Hundreds have been killed in a hospital blast in Gaza. Hamas, of course, blames it on Israel, and there seems to be some pretty definitive evidence, and we're going to show you what we have, that this is done. And you would, the minute you heard it, the minute I heard this, it took me. It did not take me having to go to the decrepit, ridiculously lying, stupid intelligence people that once said that I was a Russian pawn. I wouldn't go to them for any information about this. I used what is known as my common sense, and my common sense led me to, of course, I didn't know for sure that this sounds like something that a depraved terrorist group would do. They've done everything they can to try to produce and maximize civilian casualties. Israel has done everything it can to reduce and they can't eliminate, but reduce civilian casualties. So who the hell would hit the hospital? I mean, the only explanation, if Israel, God forbid, had done it, would be that there was a target of tremendous, overwhelming importance here in this place, and there isn't. There is no target. Otherwise, they would tell you. They would explain it to you. They'd explain to you there was the head of, or there, and even that I'm not sure would. There's a rule under international law about hitting places where there are civilians called proportionality. And proportionality would probably rule this out in terms of Israel being able to do it legally under international law. As I said, there are rules, believe it or not, even for wars. And Hamas has already violated every rule of law that ever existed, at least to the extent of Russia, and probably well beyond, without condemnation. I mean, it would be a farce, for example, to try Putin for war crimes and not Hamas. Both should be tried, because if anything, the acts of Hamas have been worse. All indications is that, as you would imagine, Hamas did this. Now you say, well, why would they do this? Well, you have the proof from just 3 days ago, don't you? 3 days ago and longer, the Israelis have begun sending, maybe for 2 weeks, circulars to Gaza, particularly to the border areas, really to all of Gaza, to flee, to go off to the south, I think they said, and to go over the border into Egypt. For that same period of time, the Palestinian Authority has been telling them to stay there. I want you to think about that. Think about it carefully now, and particularly if you are a crazy, poorly educated Harvard student. I want you to think about it, because I feel sorry for you, because your parents paid a lot of money, or you have a tremendous amount of debt to have gotten a very poor education. Think about it. the Palestinians have demonstrated they want you dead, not because they don't like you. They want you dead so that they can have a public relations defeat of Israel. They tell you to stay there. They know how lethal the Israeli armed forces are. The bombs alone, and then the invasion. Israel is telling you, go away. Why would Israel go ahead and deliberately bomb a hospital if it's telling civilians to flee? Wait, they're just going to waste all that paper and all that time? So this hospital in Gaza, I came to the conclusion before I saw anything that unless there was a terrible mistake made, that this was done by Hamas. This is a typical terrorist act of a very sick group of people who really need to be eliminated. Now, my friend Mike has come to me with some much more definitive proof.
That's right, Mayor. We actually have a video from Al Jazeera, the Arabic, not the American one. This is from Arabic.
No, even the American one, Al Jazeera, is a pro-Palestinian publication that is done in Qatar. Let's say it's instead of being 100% pro-Arab, it's 75%. Al Jazeera has some element of free press, but it's mostly, it's going to come out their way. Let me put it this way. It's not as bad pro-Arab as our publications are pro-Biden and Democrat. Right. It's not nearly as corrupt, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a video from Al Jazeera. They're actually live streaming or covering the war, and you can see Hamas fire a rocket, and it malfunctions, and it blows up the hospital. So it might have been done accidentally by Hamas, but they're the ones who definitely blew the hospital up. It was not Israel. It was not an airstrike. You don't even see an Israeli plane in the sky. So we'll play it. Unfortunately, Instagram and Getter can't see it, but we'll play it for.
Is there any way we can show it to Instagram and Getter at some point? Well, let's play it now and let's explain it to them.
Right.
And then if you don't mind putting the monitor on, I'll be able to see it because I.
ونحن نشير إلى أن هذه المدينة هي الأكثر تعرضا للصواريخ منذ بداية هذه الحرب. عمدة المدينة كانت تحدث قبل أيام عن أكثر من 1000 صاروخ طال هذه المدينة، وأكثر من 170 صاروخا سقط بالفعل في داخلها وأحدث دمارا في البنى التحتية وفي السيارات وفي المباني العامة والخاصة.
شكرا جزيلا لك الياس كرم حتى اللحظة، وسنعود إليك في إطار هذه التغطية التي ستتابعها معكم سلمى الجمل. إليك سلمى. شكرا ازدهار.
Well, since that was not in English, can somebody explain it? Anyone know what?
I don't speak Arabic. I speak Arabic, Mayor, but I can't imagine they're denying that they just saw a Hamas rocket blow a building up. Right. I mean,
and if we can find something in English for later, but can we see that again, please?
Can Google translate?
It went. Don't bother.
ونحن نشير إلى أن هذه المدينة هي الأكثر تعرضا للصواريخ منذ بداية هذه الحرب. عمدة المدينة كانت تحدث قبل أيام عن أكثر من 1000 صاروخ طال هذه المدينة، وأكثر من 170 صاروخا سقط بالفعل في داخلها وأحدث دمارا في البنى التحتية وفي السيارات وفي المباني العامة والخاصة.
شكرا جزيلا لك الياس كرم حتى اللحظة، وسنعود إليك في إطار هذه التغطية التي ستتابعها معكم سلمى الجمل. إليك سلمى. شكرا ازدهار.
We will attempt over the period of the show to get you a translation of that, but I mean, I think you could see there was another telling point. There was no attempt to intercept that.
It wasn't even an Israeli plane.
If it was a hospital, you would think there'd be some kind of a Hamas attempt to intercept the darn thing.
Absolutely.
Of course, that didn't stop Rashida Tlaib from Xing, right? Or tweeting, right? Is it tweet or X or that she's on here?
That was X, Mayor. That's X. Her X account, her official account.
She X'd out. Israel just bombed the Baptist hospital, killing 500 Palestinians, doctors, children, patients, just like that. POTUS, this is what happens when you refuse to facilitate a ceasefire and help de-escalate. Your war and destruction only approach has opened my eyes, and many Palestinian American Muslims like me, we will remember where you stood. This is a threat to, of course, a useless threat to the demented one, but And he won't understand it. Yeah, because is he on the airplane now? Nobody's going to meet with him.
So right, because of the hospital bombing, the president of Jordan or wherever from Jordan is not going to.
Will they change that now that they realize that they're not going to meet with him because of the Hamas bombed its own hospital?
That's report. That's what they're canceling the meeting between him and Jordan because of because Israel, quote unquote, bombed the hospital.
Oh, that's
allegedly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Israel did bomb the hospital, God forbid, they're not meeting with the president of the United States.
Jordan's not Israel. Yeah, Jordan.
I also thought Abbas was not going to meet with him.
I don't know about
no
that.
Abbas originally. He's supposed
is not meeting. He's canceled his meeting.
He cancels his meeting.
President.
Yeah.
And Jordan has called off.
pretty soon Netanyahu may cancel his meeting
with him.
him.
First Abbas canceled, and then the King of Jordan canceled.
Why does he stay home and sleep? It'd be
but
good
he's
for him
still
to
on
stay
his
home
way.
and
He's
sleep.
currently in the air.
He made it up the stairs. Did you notice that? The 4 stairs he goes up now?
He's definitely going. I just don't know where he's going.
Well, he made it up the steps.
Yeah,
I was very proud of him. He made it up all 4 steps. I have no idea where he goes on Air Force. I've been on Air Force One, not trying to, act like a big shot, but I've been on Air Force One quite a bit. And I've watched the movie, and I've been on the one at Reagan Library that I helped. It's a small way to acquire for Reagan Library. So I'm trying to figure out where he goes. There is a cargo. I think there's a place for guide dogs down there. But I don't think they can come up. Maybe he stays there. It's probably good for him because it's like being in the basement in Delaware.
It's always worked great for him to stay the hell out.
Maybe they made it. I have a feeling. I just thought, because these people are very, very inventive at the White House, and particularly the guys that do Air Force One. I love them, by the way. I feel bad for them. They have to take this guy around. But he probably made a little replica of his basement where he's got everything where he knows where it is. Like the little ice cream machine is just where it is. The little thing where he can replicate little things. Somebody could talk for him.
Mayor,
pictures of corn pop and stuff like that.
According to the Post, King Abdullah from Jordan is canceled his meeting with him, and so did the Egyptian president Fattah el-Sisi.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they canceled their meetings.
That's three cancellations.
Yeah, 3 cancellations. So I think he's only going to Israel at this point. I don't think he's going anywhere else. Blinken is still there too, I believe.
2 world leaders canceled a meeting.
3.
I thought al-Sisi and Jordan, and who else?
And Muhammad Abbas.
Well, Abbas is
not
a
world leader.
No, 2 world leaders and a criminal.
And a criminal, right?
You get kind of a cool presentation of the news here, not that stuffy thing here that you get elsewhere, but at least an honest one. But probably on the other networks, they're blaming it on. They're probably blaming it on Trump. That's what'll happen now. They'll say that Trump got in there with his airplane, and he did the hospital. Trump is. I wonder where. We better find out. Guys, could you please get a little alibi for Trump just in case Smith tries to charge him with it?
Trump was in court today, so he can't charge him with it.
Well, you never know. He could have done it.
That's true. He could have done it in the bathroom or something. Yeah, that's right.
It could have, but I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm just saying that, Smith's not laughing. Or maybe Fanny will charge him with it. What's the name? Fanny. The one who's prosecuting me.
Fannie Willis?
The one who wants to put me away until I die.
Fannie Willis.
Fannie Willis wants to put me away beyond my natural life. Because I'm trying to, I'm trying to figure out for the life of me what I did. I was just I got taught to do that in law school. Can I blame it on that? Maybe. I have to say I looked very light in that one over there. Why don't you, Rob? Why don't you get someplace where you can see that and you can see how light that looks? Is the yeah? Is there? I don't know. Maybe we can do something.
I'll figure it out.
Ask the people on Getter if I look too light. No, ask them if I look too light.
When we take a break.
All those people on Getter. Oh, that looks good on there. Sometimes you get a bad picture on the monitor. You can't tell. It's too much light, but it's like even getting in my eyes. Well, let's see. So we have that, but I guess we'll come back to Israel in a moment. Let's get to the speakers race, which really isn't nearly as important in many ways. I mean, it is important that we have a speaker. I am not minimizing that. But the idea that it's like critical during a time like this, well, exactly what is the House going to do right now? Unless we're going to declare war, which we haven't done and probably will never do again because presidents have decided they can do it on their own. And but I am embarrassed for my political party that we can't get it resolved, because I really do think there is a necessity to get this thing together. So what's the latest now? They're going to come back tomorrow.
Jordan's speakership bid is on life support. Detractors blame his allies' hardball tactics.
What are they, babies? What hardball? Did they break any arms?
They're saying he's too extremist far right. That's what they're saying. That's exactly.
Well, that's
what they're
different. You
saying.
said two different things.
No, I read today. They're saying his extremist far right views are holding him back. From being
So look,
in a Republican caucus, he's an extremist far right guy.
That's the media. Obviously, the media likes to paint him as that. He had 20 holdouts.
Jim Jordan is not an extremist far right guy.
He had 20 holdouts, and it's true that, look, Jim Jordan is one of the, if not the most popular member of the Republican
I think
caucus.
he's the most popular.
He's the most popular. And some other members don't seem to understand that and seem to think that they know better than the people who had sent them to office. And so when they voted no or not present, which we talked about. No, well, we had people calling his offices, right? I think, yes, Mayor, even some jealousy, but obviously I don't think that's the main thing here. But then they heard from their constituents.
Well, I mean, I will give you my personal witness, since I work with many of them in really, really closely, all during the impeachment. And I really think I know the souls of the top 20 or 30. You got a couple there that shouldn't be there. But you got a couple that are exceptional public servants. And Jim is, I mean, if you're right at the top, I mean, there are about 8 or 10 others that are right at the top. But he's a really superb human being and a real patriot. His views are right wing, but they're really mainstream right wing. I mean, maybe they don't like him because he was among the most loyal to Donald Trump. That's for sure. I mean, but I do believe that a lot of that was driven by a real sincere belief that Donald Trump is being framed. And when you believe someone's being framed, it does create a certain amount of zealousness, and it should, because you should have a zealousness for justice. If you don't have it, you should be in some other country, not here. Or you should be a Democrat, a modern Democrat, which is why the party should disappear and a new party should take its place, in which all you good people who are Democrats can join it without the embarrassment of belonging to the party of slavery, which is you now belong to, which is a mockery of all the times you want a statue removed. It really is a mockery. Well, you're a mockery. I mean, most Democrats proved office holders, not people, prove what hypocrites they are with you got to wear a mask, but they don't. You have to stay home, but they can go to parties. You know, you can't go on vacation, but they can. Because they're like in what Soviet Russia used to be, or what China is today. They're the aristocracy. There, it's called the Communist Party. Here, it's called the leadership of the Democrat Party. They can also steal, rob, cheat, carry guns illegally, and get away with it.
So just to put a bow on that, Mayor, a source is telling our sources that the Jordan team is trying to do damage control after leaking the Scalise meeting. So I guess a Scalise meeting that took place, and the leak backfired with some of Scalise's loyalists. Have backfired immediately.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck was so bad about that either, unless they think it was a double cross of some kind or other. But even then, this is what they're talking about. It is alleged that Jordan went to Scalise and said, I'll nominate you. We'll put you up for a vote. If you get it, I'm with you. If you don't, then you nominate me, and I'll take a shot at it. I don't get what's wrong with that. I mean, I don't even consider that's nothing dirty. That's not even dirty politics. First of all, neither one of them has the capacity to fix the vote. It's not as if Jordan is leading him into a vote where we know that he couldn't win, right? Already. He's not leading him into a vote that's fixed against him like a thrown fight, right? He's leading him into a vote where, frankly, neither one of them knew what the result of it was going to be. So he's taking a chance that Scalise could win. He might get what he wishes for. And then Scalise would support him. It's really in the interest of the party to get the damn thing. I've even recommended taking 3 names, maybe 4, including those 2, and putting them in a hat. Not just anybody, but the top 3 or 4 people. Put them in a hat and pick one out. Let's go. Let's go.
So Representative Jordan just tweeted about 15 minutes ago that we must stop attacking each other and come together.
There's they really do. Stake. They really do. And I know Steve too. I hope Steve isn't insulted by that. I mean, that unless it's worse than that, and we're not being told, there's nothing dirty politics about that. That's a normal deal that 2 men or women would make.
But as Rob had alluded to earlier, though, that is a signal that there must be some members who were very upset. And
if they are using strong arm tactics, which I'm sure don't include breaking your legs, this is high level politics, as they say. It's not tiddlywinks. Yeah. You know, it's high level. Come on, grow up, babies. Grow up, babies. I'm sure if it was one of your donors putting pressure on you, you'd be kissing their backside. I don't care who you are, except maybe if you're Jordan. So don't play that bullshit on me.
Yeah. So Mayor Giuliani, you would like to see Speaker Jordan after tomorrow's
100%. I mean, I'm not even to have it over. I think he'd be a great speaker. How do you like that? I think we'd have a speaker with principle. That's for sure. Now I'm not going to say McCarthy wasn't, but the guy before him, holy God. Ryan gave the country away. In that 2-year period, you know how much we could have gotten done if we had a patriot instead of some namby-pamby rhino, whatever the hell he is. What a disappointment that guy was. No wonder Romney chose him. Romney must have seen something in him, like him. Well, liberals have, I think, what liberals left. You can't even call them liberals. There's this article here by Gerard Baker in the Wall Street Journal saying liberals need a reckoning with. And I think they're absolutely right. And he says that they basically have, there's basically like a revolt going on against them inside. And because they've done so much mind control, total control of universities and intolerant extremists of the left, of which there are many, 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 many. And now they're all supporting Hamas that just blew up its own hospital.
Who would have thought these American liberal academic institutions, for all the criticism, now we add openly supporting terrorists.
Yeah, and they're getting all upset that there are employers that are saying they want to know who these idiots are because they don't want to employ people who support terrorism. They don't want to employ people that are stupid enough or criminal enough to support terrorism. And they're crying like babies. At Harvard, they had a bus traveling around Harvard with the pictures of the people supporting Hamas. You embarrassed? That's why you don't want your picture out? Are you embarrassed? Is that why you wear a mask? Because you're embarrassed? You realize you're doing something wrong? I don't wear a mask if I go to a Trump rally, do I? By the way, I probably get in a lot more trouble for going to a Trump rally than you do for supporting a terrorist group. I certainly lost a lot more money for going to Trump rallies and being for Trump than you did for supporting terrorist groups. You see me putting a mask over my face? You see me whining about it? No. No, you're violating my right of secret speech. It's not free speech. Free speech if I stand up there and say, I support Donald Trump and I support MAGA, I don't really give a damn. That's free speech. This is whiny, cowardly, sissy speech. I support MAGA, but you're not going to know who I am. We don't do that. No. We support Make America Great Again. You support Hamas. I support Hamas. Mm, it- Israel's terrorist.
Well,
That's what they are, and now they're being called out, and they're finally being called out by 3 or 4 hedge funds. Don't want to hire them.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Don't want. Why? Why would you want to hire a terrorist supporter?
Mhm.
Well, why would you want to hire even if they're making a mistake, somebody stupid enough, ignorant enough to make that mistake? Why would you want to hire someone who knows so little about history? They're carrying signs saying, "Stop occupying Gaza." They haven't occupied Gaza since 2005. Morons, poorly educated Harvard students. Do they teach history at Harvard? History, History. Still spelled that way, right?
I believe so.
And does it have a pronoun?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, Mayor, also mega law firm Davis Polk has rescinded 3 job offers for some of those Harvard students. That
I am surprised. I would think Davis Polk is kind of really trendy. This must be coming. Law firms don't do a damn thing without getting pressured by their clients. But law firms are the most cowardly. I mean, they fit in that group of must be their clients saying, I don't want some guy working on my case who possibly is a terrorist. If you're walking around supporting a terrorist, it suggests that possibly you are. Who the hell's going to support terrorists but other terrorists? I know it's a lot of stupid. Do you want to say it's a lot of stupid kids? Well, I don't want to hire them either because that word stupid. I mean, I don't want them to work for me. Maybe they'll grow up and learn you got to live with what you do. And then maybe if you think you're going to live with what you do, you don't do it.
Well, Mayor, I don't know. Also, if you saw in the city, anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise. Actually, as a matter of fact, right up here on the Upper East Side, the 2nd Avenue Deli had a swastika painted on it.
Which one?
The 2nd Avenue Deli.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had a swastika painted after their pro-Israel social media posts. Someone came and put a swastika right on their building.
That swastika garbage has been going on for a long time with idiots doing that.
Yeah, but
we even have that. We even have that on sometimes in regular times. I mean, I have to tell you, this is one of the things I underestimated and missed. I thought, and I can't tell you exactly when, but I thought some time back that we were largely over anti-Semitism in America. I'm not saying, I know I was selected as the head of a delegation to Europe, to a conference in Vienna by President Bush on anti-Semitism. And I led a group of Republicans and Democrats there. I was head of the delegation. And of course, it was when there were all those attacks that were going on in France in particular. They were burning synagogues. Remember that? I don't know if you remember. It was like 03, 02, 03, around that time. And I wasn't surprised because I had been traveling to Europe quite a bit then, that there is a fair amount of anti-Semitism in parts of just selected parts of Europe. I'll tell you where it isn't is Germany. Boy, you can't be in Germany. People are surprised that they get if they were to carry one of those stickers in Germany, pro Hamas, anti-Israel stickers, you got arrested. First of all, there is no First Amendment. And second, they have very strict laws against expressions of anti-Semitism. Obviously, you know why, because they never want another recurrence of what happened during the Second World War. Now, other parts of Europe have laws against anti-Semitism, not as strict and not as strictly enforced as Germany. So some of the anti-Semitism there is underground. The anti-Semitism in France, at least 10 years ago, was at a fevered pitch. I think other issues have overtaken it to some extent. And I think this is a very bold and strange prediction. But I do think that this will temper some of the anti-Semitism, because some of it comes out of all of the false publicity about Israel and about the Palestinians, where Palestinians are painted as poor, oppressed people. Now, look, there are a lot of Palestinians who are not Hamas, but the driving force is Hamas. And before that, it was Fatah that was equally as homicidal, killed Leon Klinghoffer, for example, That was Arafat's group, who Clinton became so friendly with. Hard to believe an American president would become so friendly with a man who killed 27 Americans. Indicates sort of a lack of a conscience, maybe. And the reality is, this may change it. This may change it just a bit.
Well, Mayor, the Fatah is actually not even getting involved with Hamas because they are just too extreme for them, I guess, these days. Like, they don't even have a comment on what's going on with this war.
Yeah,
and,
except sitting back rooting for them.
Well, they're rooting for them, but
sitting back rooting for them.
But onto the
and trying to collect as much money as they can.
Right, and back to the anti-Semitism. Just in 1 week, in major cities across the United States, calls for violence against Jews rose by 1,200% in 1 week because of the Israeli conflict.
It should be the opposite. In this country, it should be the opposite. There should be calls for, there should be outpouring of support for Israel, as opposed to anti-Semitism. You got to look at it this way, my fellow Americans. They are the tip of the spear. These people want to do to us what they're doing to them. You don't think? I mean, look, they came here and did it to us, right? Now they did it on a small scale. 3,000 people. They're well, I don't know if they're probably not at 3,000 yet. Israelis, right? Come to think of it, it was a pretty big scale, even ours. When you compare it, I mean, I'm talking about the Islamic extremist attack on America. Excuse me, Obama, that's what it was. Now take these words and shove them down your prejudiced throat. Islamic extremist attack on America. You would never hear Obama say that. There's something I always felt, and I know there's something wrong with him for that. That should be examined. But in any event, that was an Islamic extremist attack on the United States of America, and we lost almost 3,000 people. Israeli casualties are about 1,200 right now.
I'm getting the number for you right now.
Just want you to get a sense of the enormity of the attack of September 11.
Yeah, not to mention the tragedy of it.
Now, it didn't. In terms of destruction to the country, it didn't spread out as far, but we're still talking about larger casualties.
Yeah, Mayor, it's 1,300 as of today. They're still counting that number. So almost a half of September 11th.
Wow.
Yeah, almost half. We're getting there. Yeah.
So, so you can make an equation between the two in terms of terrorist attack. More concentrated, but more people died. But in any event, both are abominable. Sins against God and nature, war crimes for which you should be executed, or in the case of Hamas, because they are now. Remember, this is a war under very, very not different circumstances, but very, very dramatic circumstances. This is a war against an enemy that wants to destroy you completely. They want to destroy your entire country, and they want to destroy your entire group of people.
Culture.
Yeah, they want to destroy you. So you're literally are really fighting for your child, because you have every reason to believe if you don't win this war, they're going to come and chop your kid's head off or rape your wife.
Mayor,
that is not an exaggeration. They actually did that. Right. And this hospital incident, I don't know if, I'm sure it's happened before, but I've never heard of a country that bombs its own hospital. What a bunch of animals. Wow.
That's right, Mayor. Hamas, I see at some of these rallies, I don't even talk about the other, like gays for Palestine, queers for Palestine. Do these,
there's a good point.
Does the LGBTQ community know what Hamas does to that
I can't imagine
I don't get it.
I can't imagine that Harvard and Yale and all these places, because a lot of them go there,
right,
are that ignorant and their education is that poor.
They should do a school trip.
They won't come back.
They'll come back. Right.
The Harvard will lose the tuition. That can let them go.
That's a double win.
Or they can go volunteer for Hamas. See how that works for them. Why not? You're so supportive of them. You should go fight by their side.
That's a good point.
Am I right, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I remember during. I don't remember. This is really crazy. If I remembered that, I sound like Biden. I remember from history that during the Spanish Civil War, lots of communists, American communists, went to fight with the Spanish communists from here, and joined them. And a lot of American Jews are going over to fight for Israel. Both ones that are have dual citizenship and belong to the army, and some that are volunteering.
Absolutely, man.
I don't see a bunch of those kids joining the Hamas brigade.
Taylor Swift's bodyguard, who makes probably $500,000 a year, he's Israeli. He left that job to go fight for his country. That's how much these people love their country. They'll die for their country, and they'll go whenever.
How about the Black Lives Matter people? They go in to fight for Hamas like they came out for Hamas.
No, there's no money in that for them. They're not going to fight. They're not going to make any money from fighting with Hamas. They only are in things that make them money. So, unfortunately, they won't be joining.
Well, now what has happened to the invasion? So, it seems to me that Biden, by going there, among other things, and getting himself embarrassed by these people not meeting with him, which shows you that he doesn't have the ability to make peace in that region the way Trump did, because they all talked to Trump. What the invasion, I think, is now delayed some more, because I can't imagine that Bibi is going to invade while the president of the United States is there, for fear that there's going to be heavy and massive retaliation. Now, they can hit Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So I think this delays. I think this. Remember when he used to say all that bull about East Palestine?
East Palestine, yes.
And he would say, "I can't go because I'll disrupt the efforts on the train track. I'll disrupt the efforts." Well, he actually is disrupting the efforts now. He actually is disrupting the efforts. I can't imagine they're going to attack while he's there. So now the darn things are going to get put off another 3 or 4 days.
So, Mayor, when these leaders said they weren't going to meet with President Biden, the White House immediately put out a press release saying President Biden was the one who suggested they shouldn't meet, of course.
We shouldn't have been meeting with Assad at all.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous for him to meet with Assad.
Right.
I mean, Assad may not be the director of this violence, but his country's doing it.
And we also have 2,200 troops, U.S. troops, on standby, ready to deploy to the Middle East, but they say it's for medical help and other things, which I highly doubt.
Well, at 2,200, it isn't an awful lot unless they're special forces.
They didn't say who it was. They just said there's 2,200 troops ready to go.
Well, I mean, I really do think that if the northern offensive opens and there's an attack by Hezbollah, we should take Hezbollah out. We should do it. We should take Hezbollah out.
I believe that's a general consensus.
And we should also help Israel take out the Iranian nuclear plants. Be a good time to get rid of those. They're going to come and get us any one of these days. No way Biden will do that. No way. Biden is pro-Iranian. I mean, he's certainly not pro-American. You always have to look for other countries that he's for, like China always, right? But I learned watching Afghanistan that he never thinks about the best interests of the United States. I mean, he left people behind to die, gave up Bagram. Can't possibly even have a thought of the best interests of the United States and give up an airbase 400 miles from China. But we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back describing the absurdities of American foreign policy. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. T2t.org. That's T, the number 2t.org. T2t.org. Please donate now.
Okay.
Well, we're back, and you know what time this is. This is Balance of Nature time for Rudy.
We forgot to do that. That should have been an intro, right?
Okay. 2 fruit, 2 veggies. Okay, Selma, come on. Let them know what to do.
balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy, 35% off. If you want to be big and strong like this guy, he works 14-hour days. You take Balance of Nature, and that's it. He doesn't even sleep.
Come on.
He never trips going up the stairs either.
That's true.
And do us a favor. Come on, this is going to help us if you do balance code Rudy. Come on,
Use that.
give it a shot.
Be sure to use that promo code Rudy, RUDY. You're doing your body a favor, and you're also doing your country and yourself a favor by supporting America's Mayor Live and everything he's doing day in and day out, sun up to sundown, 7 days a week, 0 days off.
So, speaker off till tomorrow, Thursday, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Tomorrow's Epic Times Day. I got to get that in my head.
Yes.
You know why I say that? I get a paper copy of the Epic Times tomorrow. I look forward to it, believe it or not, every Wednesday. In fact, I get it so early in the morning that even when I travel on Wednesday, I get my Epic Times. And I look forward to that. What a great newspaper. You can get it online every day. And of course, it's just as good online. But it's kind of fun to be reading an old newspaper again, because I will not go near the New York Times because I think it has only one purpose. And I'm not allowed to state that even on non-radio, like open lines like this. I'll tell you guys afterwards what to do with it.
Didn't they just have to lay off
Yeah.
people?
Well, I didn't run out of toilet paper during the pandemic like other people, because I
put it in my cat's little box.
I just went ahead and I asked my neighbors if they had extra.
You want to take that?
No, not right now. If they had extra one of those. You know, one of the suggestions that was made by several, so I won't claim this as my own, is I guess if things got bad in terms of picking a speaker, they could always take Henry, Congressman Henry, and I think they can. I want to make, McHenry. They could always make him temporary speaker. They give him the powers of the speaker. He's a speaker pro tempore, which means I guess he just presides, but he could have whatever powers the speaker has, and everybody seems to like him. So, and they can make it temporary until they stop fighting with each other like children. Well, a lot of people can now attribute this backlash in colleges against the pro Hamas people and the pro terrorist people to donor revolt, which I guess started with that original commercial, a Bud Light commercial, when conservatives decided to fight back by saying, we're not buying Bud Light, right? So now I think the thing that got to Harvard was a lot of the donors, including the head of a hedge fund. I want the names of the people that are involved in that, 'cause we're not going to hire them. I think some big donors pull their money out. Now at University of Pennsylvania, they had a major loss, and also at Harvard they had a major loss. One of their major donors pulled out. I'm trying to remember all the places that lost people. Let me see if I got them. University of Pennsylvania, Cornell, Columbia, and Harvard have all lost a major donor or more. Now, at University of Pennsylvania, it was John Huntsman who made it public. but there are several others private. At Cornell, there were a number. There they have this professor named Russid Rickford, who has described the attack of Hamas as exhilarating and extraordinary. So there's a big effort to try to remove him, which I think is a good effort. There's also Joseph is it Mased or Mossad at Columbia? They've got something like 44,000 signatures to remove him.
Wow.
He's another massive lover of baby killers, Hamas. So this is a big effort going on, a big effort. Meanwhile, it doesn't stop though. You showed me that tweet by Tlaib, but Ilhan Omar has put out a picture of child genocide in Palestine the other day, and it turns out to be a 2013 child that was killed with Syrian chemical weapons. That she left it to look like it was the Israelis who did it. That's what you got in these people. These are close to terrorists. That gives you an idea of just exactly how dishonest, dangerous, anti-American they are. People laugh at the squad because, they illustrated before anyone just how poorly educated all these people are. Like the people from Harvard who think that that Gaza is occupied when the occupation ended in 2005. And they really do. If you were to go ask them, are they occupied? Absolutely. Colonized. They're colonized. Colonized. When Israel got there, they weren't even there. They were off on their camels somewhere. I don't know if they have camels.
Mayor, actually.
Oh God, what? It wasn't a country. Well, show me Palestine as a country before this. You know what it goes back to? It goes back to the name goes back to the Philistines, the Roman Philistines. It's a made up country.
Look, there's a reason why every country around
and Jordan threw them out.
Right.
Jordan threw them out. Egypt closed their only border with them.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we
Kuwait,
lie to each
sorts of
other about
problems.
Palestine?
Every country around them doesn't want them. And these activists on campus, Mayor, they don't get it.
And it is true. There are innocent people in Palestine who are taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to be liberated until you get rid of Palestine, until you get rid of Hamas. Hamas, Palestine are the same thing, with a large number of Palestinians who would revolt against it. It's like saying Nazi Germany and Germany. Was every person in Germany a Nazi? Absolutely not. But during the period of the war, could you separate that? Of course you couldn't. Of course it wasn't. It took the war to end. It took taking the cancer out. And now you had left the good people you could deal with. That's what's going to have to happen here. You can't get to the good people because the terrorist won't let you. That was the mistake that is the fundamental mistake of the Democratic Party, dealing with Arafat and letting him become the spokesman for all those people. It was a sellout of the decent people of Palestine who no longer have any ability to control anything. And there's no point right now in trying to separate one from the other because you can't. And that's why we shouldn't take them in, because we have no idea who we're taking in. We don't know if we're taking in the possible person who, if they do persecute their own people, I don't know that they do, but the person who's the contrarian and doesn't agree with the terrorist activities of this animalistic government, or we're taking in somebody who pretends they're not, and will be a horrible situation for America. So we shouldn't take any of them in. The people who should take them in are the people who agree with them. Plenty of countries now agree with them. Why the hell won't Egypt take them in? Egypt agrees with them. Jordan won't take them in.
Well, Mayor, interesting question now. Do you think Joe Biden got a lot of the Jewish vote in the 2020 election, right? Do you think now, since all this is going on in America, and Joe Biden was legitimately silent for the first couple of days about, the terrorist attacks on Israel, do you think now the Jewish people will start voting for Republicans?
I don't know. I don't know. The brainwashing, it isn't just the Jewish people, it's the people like in New York and in Chicago. And
Right.
there's a certain group of people that are so brainwashed by that pathetic political party, that party of slavery, that they just look at what they voted for in Chicago. Even among Democrats, they voted for the worst Democrat. Or in New York, they picked Adams. I mean, he's the guy that talks to God, the guy who invites the illegal immigrants here in record numbers, and now is upset about it.
Well, he went on a pro-Israel rant for like 4 minutes the other day. I was actually surprised, and he condemned all those Hamas sympathizers.
The thing about him that is very, very frustrating is he'll often say the right things and then do the wrong things.
True.
And so I don't know. Maybe he's given up on his party now. But a lot of his problem is he was afraid to go against his party and Biden, but they've basically thrown him out. So I don't know why he doesn't. I really don't know why he doesn't. Now the squad and their Palestinian lovers and Hamas lovers, they want a ceasefire. This would be like right after Pearl Harbor. Somebody started calling for a ceasefire with Japan. I mean, are these Americans?
No.
They actually call them the Hamas caucus now. Like all those squad people, they call them the Hamas caucus.
But this is ridiculous. Israel is supposed to have they just had 1,000 of their people killed, women killed and raped, and children killed. They're getting bombed every day, and they should call a ceasefire. I'm telling you, it would be like calling a ceasefire after Pearl Harbor. If Roosevelt had said, "Oh yeah, well, we'll have a ceasefire now and talk to Japan," it wouldn't have lasted long. Even Roosevelt. I don't know.
It's a takeover. It's a brainwash takeover going on.
Yeah,
These
it is.
In our government.
What happened to our universities? But I think
That's where they came from.
there is two good things that have come out of this. First of all, the counter movement against the universities. The idea that let's have these young people held accountable for what they're saying and doing, because this is not what they're doing is not child. They may be immature idiots and poorly educated, but this is serious stuff that they're doing. I mean, they are empowering mass murderers. That's serious stuff. They should be held accountable for it. And they should, maybe the best learning experience they're going to get in college, because I don't think they get any, is being held accountable for this.
Look, I stand by everything I wrote when I was in college. And
you don't have a
at
choice.
18, 19 years old, I knew as I was writing, in the future, if I want to pursue higher office or something, I better be prepared to stand by these things.
Well, honestly,
right?
You're entitled to change your mind if you can explain it.
That too. Yes, of course.
I mean,
that as well.
there are things I wrote in college. I was a supporter of the Kennedys that I don't agree with now. That I look at differently now. But I didn't support terrorists.
Yeah, well, that's the point. You can go back and explain your perspective at the time,
but
and why you wrote what you wrote.
I would be willing to listen to what these young people said about why. I really think that some of them are badly motivated, and some of them are poorly led. And I think some are just dumb, who like to think they're smart, which is the worst thing in the world.
And they've been in a
They
bubble,
go to Harvard, they think they're smart, and Harvard doesn't teach them anything.
And they wouldn't be able to explain it to you if you asked them.
Well, they tell me that it's occupied. The country's occupied. I'd show them it wasn't, and they say I'm lying.
Right.
Well, Mary, you just look at it
You
this
get
way.
into a catch-22, right?
This is what I tell these idiots, right? How many Jews live freely in Palestine? 0. How many Palestinians live in Israel freely? A bunch.
They're even in the Knesset.
That's what I'm saying. So this is the kind.
Maybe they're not treated as nice. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure you treat people as nice who are killing your kids, right?
We're not there. It's just saying Israel accepts everybody, and if a Jew wanted to live freely in Palestine, it's not happening. They won't let him in. So it just doesn't make sense. These people hate Jews. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? That's simple.
These people hate Jews is exactly right. And with that, we'll take a short break.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom as we know it has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Quick's digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Quicks. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting quicks.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
You're live, man. You're live.
Yeah, I mean, at least New York. We were talking about Martha's Vineyard because in Martha's Vineyard, they're very, very nasty to our friend Alan Dershowitz, who has been going there for years. And he freely tells you this, so I'm not giving away any secrets, that for the last couple of years, since he's legally, come to the conclusion that the cases against Trump, even though he's not a Trump supporter, are garbage. They're political vendetta and very dangerous to our country. A very wise, traditionally liberal position. He's been completely ostracized by his friends in Martha's Vineyard because they're such big-hearted liberals. These are the ones who had a chance to take care of. How many did they get? About 40 or 50 or 200? I don't remember. How many did DeSantis send there?
I'm looking it up, but I honestly thought it was like 40 or something.
Yeah, I thought it was like at least 50 people.
Wasn't many, though.
Well, that would really have overwhelmed poor Martha's Vineyard.
They had him on a bus by the next day.
They had the military.
The National Guard came.
They had the military there within hours.
How come the National Guard isn't here in New York City?
About
All
50
these
migrants.
migrants. I'm very confused.
50 migrants?
Yeah.
They couldn't take 50
We have
migrants?
60,000.
There's nobody there at that time of year. They said they were overwhelmed. They didn't have any place to put them. Almost every place in Martha's Vineyard, it was like the fall of last year, around this time last year. Or maybe it was in September. It's after the summer people leave. Martha's Vineyard, like Fire Island, goes down to a bare bones population, probably even more because it's further off the mainland. I'm not even sure they have a high school there. I think they have to go to high school on the mainland. So it goes down to so they had plenty of empty. Obama's place alone could have taken care of all of them.
Absolutely.
These are a bunch of NIMBYs.
They should go to Hawaii too. Obama has a place there. Why not? Plenty of room in his mansion on the water.
But why doesn't Adams call them and say they're Democrats?
Stop.
And say, hey, Barry.
They got big cars,
You think they're on the first
Used to call him Barry in high school.
Well, maybe.
Barry-O.
I'm just being cute.
Biden didn't meet with Adams when he was here, so maybe that came from Barry. Maybe Barry's not a fan of Adams.
Well, where was Adams? Wasn't Adams in Latin America?
No,
or
Adams
someplace?
was here.
Really?
Adams was working?
That was the one or two times he was here.
Yeah, he wanted to meet with
Isn't
Biden,
he
but
just in
Biden
Colombia?
said no.
Yeah, either he or the police commissioner are out of town all the time.
That's true.
What would you have
So
done?
during the day of rage, our police commissioner is off on on a trip to Qatar.
Of all places, by the way, Qatar. Where's Hamas's leadership?
He's in Qatar.
Yeah.
They're both in Qatar.
What are they trying to go, like, I don't know, play cards or something? Or negotiate peace?
I'm sure it was some sort of security.
I used to be here all the
consulting
time. I mean,
arrangement,
Republicans
you
are
know,
so stupid they actually work.
I don't know.
Republicans actually work.
Maybe we're the suckers.
They actually take it seriously.
We must be the suckers.
We actually believe you're supposed to work. The other thing that I get really annoyed about is God didn't talk to me.
And you're not Gandhi.
No, I can.
And you don't know and you're not bilingual.
That's right.
Like Mayor Adams.
Oh, you know the
That's right.
latest one about Adams?
That's right.
You got that one?
That's right.
This is a pure con job.
You have it. You have it. Man.
They have an
You have it. You have it.
artificial intelligence. I think I threw it away. They have an artificial. You'd find it in the New York Post
That was
article
too good.
there.
Tell them the story.
They New York City has an artificial intelligence thing where they call you up and they give you all kinds of information in Adam's voice, in Indian, or in French, or in Italian, or in Russian, or in whatever. And people now come up to him and say, "Gee, I didn't know you spoke French. I didn't know you." And he thinks it's real funny. It's not him. It's a phony. The artificial intelligence, they take his voice, and through artificial intelligence, they have him deliver a message in Spanish. So he doesn't sound as stupid as de Blasio and Mikey sounded doing it.
It's quite something, right?
Yeah. Bloomberg and de Blasio tried to learn Spanish, and they were terrible. So Adams figures I can just lie and I'll
fake it.
I'll fake it. And he thinks it's funny.
He thinks it's funny.
He thinks it's funny that he's fooling people.
I think people.
But he's a Democrat. I mean,
I never heard that.
truth, honesty.
So someone tells him in the street, "I'm impressed. You know Spanish."
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know it. That was just a fake voice. If I'm a voter, I'm like kind of taken aback, right? I'm like, wait, what? Like, what
I wouldn't. Not if God talks.
Watching de Blasio speak Spanish was watching like nails on a chalkboard. That guy
He didn't
was.
do too well. I kill him. Gee, that's something you gotta get.
Bloomberg did better than him, I think. But de Blasio, Jesus Christ.
I can't remember who was worse.
And if Mayor de Blasio was the mayor right now, he'd be marching with those Free Palestine people. I just want to let everyone know.
Well,
that.
I don't know if he ever acknowledged being a communist, but he came pretty close to
big
it.
Marxist. He is.
Yeah, I don't think he would be so.
Now.
I think he would tell you that he's a communist.
Now imagine if that was a Republican headline. AP, can New York's mayor speak Mandarin? No, but with AI, he's making robocalls in different languages. Now, if that's a Republican mayor, can you imagine that headline?
I think
mayor.
I think when the Republican said that God taught,
Misappropriate.
can you imagine if a Republican mayor said that God spoke back to him?
Oh, he'd be a white supremacist.
White supremacist, they put him in the nut house.
God.
It'd be time for an examination. It'd be time for an examination by a doctor.
Yeah, he'd be a Christian fascist.
Yo, yes, sir. Yeah, he'd be a
New
racist.
terms. They have these new terms.
He talks to God.
He's making fun of the
He sure seems real for talking to God. He seems to always be in a bad place, right? He's always yelling at old ladies at meetings. If I'm talking to God, I'm going to be pretty.
Well,
cool
maybe
and
he
collected,
doesn't.
right?
You know, he doesn't tell you what God says. No, maybe God's mad at him.
Oh,
Like God got mad at Moses a few times.
Being
He did?
EMS for 7 years at prior EMS, we would take guys like that to Bellevue to get it. Okay, if they talk to God, say
There's
they're
probably
Gandhi.
a God unit at Bellevue.
So Mayor
There's
Adams,
a doctor who specializes in people who are George
we
Washington.
call them EDPs, emotionally disturbed persons. So Mayor Adams, you
I
need
remember a guy.
Bellevue,
I
you
remember
need
when I was
Bellevue.
in the U.S. Attorney's office, we used to get kook jobs that would come in on complaint day. And when you were a young assistant, you were assigned for an entire week to complaint week. And it was a week when you needed a psychiatrist. People would come in and say they would. Maybe these people were telling the truth. A lot of them would come in and say that the CIA was taking their brainwaves. Now, in retrospect, it might have been true. One of them I told to put tinfoil in his ear.
And he did.
And he came back in about 2 weeks and said it didn't work. And I got in a lot of trouble because one of my colleagues had taken over. I told the guy, look, why don't you just put tinfoil in your ear?
You're right. So now
The guy came back and he's yelling and screaming the tinfoil worked for a couple of weeks and now it's not working.
I wonder where that came from. The tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I don't know. What
Probably me.
I think I think it came from the 50s or something.
Wasn't it on the honeymooners or
What does it
something?
mean?
No.
Like,
People were told to wear tinfoil to protect them.
Well, maybe that's where I got
You
it.
probably got it from the brainwaves or something.
Maybe
right?
that's where I got
So
it. It
people
is.
that-
It is years
So
ago
the
when the
original-
honeymooners may have been on then.
Mayor Adams definitely goes to bed with a tinfoil hat on. 100%.
Tinfoil.
So do you know that the offspring of El Chapo, who have declared that fentanyl among their organized crime group is now illegal?
Finally, a cartel with morals. Thank you.
The cartel's doing more about fentanyl than Biden.
That's what I'm saying. Thank God.
Now you believe that?
Well, say that again.
The last guy I know that was against heroin and banned it in the mafia went to jail for selling heroin. Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese used to pretend that he was anti-drugs, except he went to jail. He went to Atlanta State Prison for selling drugs.
That's the shtick in all the mob movies, right?
Yeah, that's
the shtick that they didn't want. The old guys didn't want to get into drugs.
the old guys would sell their mother for money. They'd have their mother prostituted on
But
the
that's an
street
old
for
trope.
money.
The only
mob
Godfather
movies, right? They don't get
No. You probably know this too, Mayor. The only Godfather who didn't touch drugs was Carlo Gambino, and then when he died, that's when it all went to shit. He was the only one who did not touch drugs.
Okay,
Is that
yeah,
it?
yeah.
I tell you what, believe that.
I believe.
Okay.
There you
I
go.
believe
There you go.
Good, you have to have a hero.
Say hi to Santa Claus for me too.
The mob didn't give
Santa
a
Claus doesn't exist.
the mob didn't give a damn. I mean, the most you would get out of it is what happens in the. I mean, if you listen to The Godfather very carefully, it's pretty damn accurate. The Godfather says he's not going to do drugs, but he's not going to stand in the way of anybody else that does, and he will do accommodations for them. Which means that, if they get in trouble and he can get them out of trouble, he will. If he can use all those politicians and judges that he has in his pocket, he will use them for his drug dealing brothers and sisters. And then because of that, because he's not going along with them on that, they decide to take him out. But of course, he dies then, and Michael takes them out. But that's a little different. The reality is the mafia was never really against drugs. You can believe it if you want. It's just like El Chapo.
You're not buying that story?
No. Buying it? Yeah. I tell you what, I'll buy that story, and you give me $2 million and I'll give you the Brooklyn Bridge. Okay?
That's pretty cheap.
Okay, give me $10 million. I don't
There you go. That's better. That's more like it.
I can only go with what he could borrow.
That's another saying. I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
That's
right?
the Brooklyn Bridge.
And that's the Brooklyn Bridge.
So the Gilgo murder case, which has gotten Rex Howerman, which has gotten sort of gone off the front pages, now has two more possible victims: Valerie Mack and Karen Vergata, whose bodies were found with the others. Although there's a big separation during the murder situation. I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you remember this case. This guy murdered these women, and he was on the loose for ever and ever and ever. And they finally arrested him. Yeah, and they had all the evidence to arrest him. It's like a real scandal that should be investigated in terms of corrupt police activity. Ted and I went out there.
Yeah, we'll have to bring back some of that.
Yeah, I mean, and you could have caught this guy 8 years earlier. I mean, the real tragedy would be if anybody got killed during that period, where he could have been arrested, when they had all the information. All they had to do is put 1 and 2 together and not be lazy. Or it might be because of this guy Burke, who turns out to be some kind of a convicted pervert himself, who was the chief of police, and protection of a operation they had going on. But in any event, there are two more in the New York area that have been listed. And then there are 2 in Atlantic City that seem a little more remote. So it may turn out to be a bigger case than it was originally. I also find and we should mention this for purposes of just the way in which all constitutional rights have been ripped away by the Biden dictatorship. But the judge who has ruled that Trump can't criticize the prosecutor. When have prosecutors become? I used to get criticized all the time.
And he
Even threatened with murder.
And he potentially faces incarceration, according to what I read. Trump.
I mean, even if he wasn't running for president, you have an absolute right to criticize the prosecutor.
Freedom of speech.
And also the government. This might sound a little strange to you, but if you think about it, it won't. The government has no right to a fair trial. The right to a fair trial is a personal constitutional right that comes to an individual, not to the government. The government's got the power, so they should be able to overcome whether there's a fair trial or not. The government has to deal with the vagaries of what happens in our free republic. There's no right to a speedy trial. They're making up rights against Trump, and in the case of Georgia, against me, that don't exist. But they certainly have no right to shut him up. He has every right to come out of court and say what a bunch of scoundrels they are, just like I do. This should be reversed if we have anything left of freedom of speech. Meanwhile, he's running for president. They are politically presenting these criminal cases in order to interfere. If you can't figure this out, please go to someplace other than Harvard, because if you go to Harvard, it'll just extend your stupidity. You don't end up with 4 trials in the year you're running for president by accident. Can we at least exercise enough common sense to figure that out, whether we're Democrats or Republicans? Like maybe we could say, gee, he's running for president next year. He's got 4 criminal trials. Wow. And they're all brought by Democratic prosecutors. Oh, and they're all brought in, or most of them are brought in corrupt Democratic cities. Oh, so he'll go in front of people who are very, very prejudiced against him. Oh, gee, I wonder how it all happened. Gee, he must be very, very dangerous, and he must have just committed these crimes, and it just has to be done now. Well, some of them are so old they didn't even have cars when he committed the crimes. I mean, it's like ridiculous. I mean, some of the crimes, I can't describe to you what the crime is. In fact, I can't in any of them. I mean, the last one is he was saying that he got cheated in the election. And he felt very strongly that he was cheated in the election. You're not allowed to feel that way. It's a crime if you feel that way. You're not allowed to believe that. And there are people say, did he really think he was cheated, or is he making it up? Come on, you look at him. You don't think he really believes he was cheated? He does. Does he have evidence of it? He does. Does he have more evidence that they will than they will ever admit, and that they're lying about it? Absolutely. And who are the real criminals? The ones who for the last 5 or 6 years have been trying to frame him. And so far, when we've been able to unravel these, who has turned out to be the liars and who has turned out to tell the truth? Well, let's take, for example, the hard drive, which I know really well. Well, I was accused for 17 months of being a liar. And they were the New York Times and the president and 51 of our most distinguished intelligence geniuses who couldn't figure out there were no weapons of mass destruction, who led us into Benghazi. Oh yeah, real geniuses. They were right, and I was a liar and a criminal. Turns out they're liars, and they're criminals, and I was telling the truth, 100%. Russian collusion.
Well, Mayor, we definitely want to give
Who was right about that?
Oh, we got to get our.
Who was lying?
We got to get our chart.
So why do you think all of a sudden Trump and I would start lying about the stolen election, and they're telling the truth?
Suddenly,
Suddenly, after years and years of lying, they were visited by the same God that visited Adams, and they're now telling the truth. The angel Gabriel came down and said to Swishy Swish,
this time we're telling you.
This time you tell the truth, and Giuliani and Trump are going to be the liars. We are telling the truth. They are lying about all of it because they are straight out now. The Bidens are career criminals. They've been committing crimes since forever. And he's headed on his airplane to Israel to meet no one, to interfere with the war because they can't invade now. And to try to talk. Look what they did. Look what they did with the hostages. Nobody writes this. Nobody writes those poor people. Israel implored him not to put pressure on Bibi to allow electricity and water into Gaza. Now that sounds tough. Don't give them electricity and water. They're at war. They're holding hostages. The Israelis tried to explain to numbnuts and his administration that that's the leverage they have. They use that often to get people back. They're giving them electricity and water based on the pressure of numbnuts. It's much more important that they get water and electricity than we get our hostages back. Like he gives a damn. He better come back with those hostages. He better. And not give away America to get it. Oh, how did this happen to us? I mean, there are times that I get extremely down about this, my country. The only thing that keeps me going is my feeling that God is looking after us, that whenever we've had to, as a country, we could count on you, on the heart and soul of the American people, and on the fact that there are enough of us in this country that realize that our rights come from God, and that our obligations are to God. And then that works itself out in the fairest and best country that ever existed. Even though it's human and it makes terrible mistakes, but who the hell ever corrected its mistakes like the United States of America? When do you ever hear a Democrat say that? I don't know. They don't even carry flags when they cheer for him. It was disgusting when Ted and I saw his thing go by a couple of weeks ago. There wasn't a single Democrat with a flag out. Are you embarrassed about your flag? Really, start thinking about that. Start thinking about that and start thinking about your party. What the hell do you want to be part of a party with a history of slavery? And then you guys, all your people run around with all that bull about taking down statues of people who had much less to do with slavery than your political party. Time to make a big change. What's that group that we're going to go talk for?
Walk away. Walk away.
That means walk away from the party of slavery.
Party. Yes, walk away from the Democrat Party, as you famously, as a young man,
Walked away from it.
Walked away from the. My father, he hasn't walked away yet.
He will,
but hopefully the time will come. But a lot of my father was like you probably were when
look,
you were his.
I hate to be presumptuous, but the party has walked away from your father.
Yeah,
bingo,
and that's really true.
100%.
Ed Koch, someone said this the other day. I've forgotten who said it. That Ed Koch said that the Democratic Party of his day was not the Democratic Party of his father. And they said if he was alive today, he'd be going nuts because he was a very big supporter.
When did Ed say that?
Oh, probably in the 1990s.
And now we can say,
Ed Koch in 1980 token supported Carter, but he actually supported Reagan because of Israel. It's well known. He was the mayor of New York then. It was during the best part of his mayoralty, which was that first half of it. He was quite popular. And he had turned from a very, very sort of left-wing, I wouldn't say squad. He was always much more intelligent than the squad. But a really left-wing sort of troublemaker in Congress to a fairly conservative Democratic mayor. And then he was a true, totally loyal supporter of Israel, not like Schumer, who would go hide. Like if the squad, he would demand that they be thrown out of the Democratic Party, or he'd probably leave. I have no doubt about it. I mean, by the time he died, he was virtually a Republican, but he supported Reagan in 1980 because of Israel. He believed that Carter would sell out Israel. not Carter himself, but the people around him. And Carter did begin the slide, but it was really Jim Baker after Reagan. When Reagan was around, Reagan didn't have him involved in foreign policy. It's Bush who made him Secretary of State, which was a terrible mistake. And he began the slide toward, he always suspected of being anti-Semitic. Don't know if he is anti-Semitic, he is anti-Israel. And then Clinton got mesmerized and taken in by Arafat. I mean, he would have him for dinner or lunch. They'd have drinks together. The guy killed 27 Americans. Even if you have to do business with him, Jesus, I put murderers on a witness stand, but I didn't have dinner with them. That's why I threw him out. I don't want to listen to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with somebody who killed 27 murderers. I didn't think he would appreciate the Ode to Joy.
Well, we want to get a quick
Let him
update.
go out.
Oh.
Let him go out in the desert and listen to what kind of music do the camels make? Let him listen to that instead of Beethoven's greatest piece of music.
Let's get a quick update on the situation at the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon, Mayor. I have a short video clip. This was the scene on the road leading toward the U.S. Embassy.
Lebanon, everyone is heading towards the U.S. Embassy.
And
I didn't even think there were that many people in Lebanon.
They're racing towards the U.S. Embassy, which is located in a suburb of Beirut.
Lebanon, everyone is heading towards the U.S. Embassy.
Tomorrow night, but there appears to be a large presence surrounding the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon.
A Palestinian Christian called me today on my radio show to tell me not to be so hard on the Palestinians. I sort of said, I don't know if I apologized, but I said I didn't mean to be hard on the Palestinians. I meant to be hard on Hamas, but it is true. It's hard to separate the two since they voted for them. It's like when you say, if you go after Nazi Germany, are you being hard on the Germans of that day? I'm sure a lot of them opposed Hitler, but the end result was because of them, we had to face Hitler. And because of them, the Nazis were empowered to kill 6 million Jews and 6 million other people. Well, because of them, Hamas is empowered to go rape women and kill babies and blow up hospitals. So I don't know exactly how you deal with that. I do know you don't deal with it by pretending that the Palestinian Authority has no accountability for Hamas. That's silly. That would be like saying, well, Germany had no accountability for Hitler. You've got to approach it with, that's the side they're on right now. And I don't know, and I would be persuaded to look at it somewhat differently if it was a situation like Iran, where many of the people are subject to persecution. I have a feeling that a large majority of people in Iran are on our side and would like to overcome the reign of terror. But of course, that's borne out by years now, 3, 4, 5 years on and off of big protests in which people are killed for protesting. I don't see protests in Palestine. Do you? Have you seen the Palestinian people protesting Hamas or Fatah? I mean, Fatah should be protested also. It's corrupt as hell. That's right, man. I don't see them protesting. So I don't want to condemn all the Palestinian people, but I sure as hell don't want to give them a big defense either. I don't know what we're dealing with there. And I sure don't want them here in the United States. They got a lot of countries that seem to love them, take them. And then they got to tell you something, that those countries won't take them.
There's a reason.
Why did Egypt close down its border? Look, I know why. Everyone knows that the Egyptians hate them. The Jordanians threw out 1 million. They threw out 1 million of them.
Kuwait had problems when they were.
Of course. Look, I worked in the Middle East. I know what the Arabs really think of the Palestinians. So cut the garbage.
Yeah. Maybe they should talk to you, Mayor, some of these 20-year-old. I don't even know what they major in at these schools these days.
And I think the best thing for the Palestinian people would be to be honest with them, instead of like even Biden going there to meet with the boss. What the hell is he meeting with that crook for? He's the best hope for Palestine. He's been the hope of Palestine for 30 years. Maybe you'd come to the conclusion you're backing the wrong horse, jackass.
All right.
Well, so where are we? What time? Oh my goodness!
We have great, fast moving.
All right.
We got a lot to cover, and we have so much more. It's just.
But we're gonna have to save it for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night we'll be back. We'll see if Biden gets the country he's incorrect. We'll see if he makes it up and down the steps, and we will hope he does not too much damage to our country while he's there, because he's done unbelievable. His foreign trips have been a virtual disaster for the United States, which is another reason why it's a shame that he's going and nobody's even going to meet with him, except Netanyahu, who's got better things to do to meet with him. Unless he's going to come there with something to help, we'll see. If he gives the kind of help he gave in Ukraine, he'll give them a lot of money, but not enough to win the war. Not enough material to win the war, because obviously the money doesn't turn into enough arms. Because maybe he should get an auditor to make sure the money is turning into arms. But we've been distracted from that one for a while, so we're going to have to get back to it. So a little time tonight for prayer. We pray for the people of Israel, and we pray for the United States. And we thank you, God, for letting us be Americans. God bless America. Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776. One of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God